Oh, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, depending on which part of this country that you're in. You're watching Rebel Roundup, Rebel News' daily news and opinion show. I'm your host, Sheila Gunn Reid, and we pulled the old Saskatchewan on Tuesday, and we had Tamara Ugolini sub in for our regular host who sits beside me here, Lise Merle from Regina, Saskatchewan, who is here on a Thursday. Lise, how's it going?
It feels sort of upside down that I would be here on a Thursday. And as it turns out, we have a whole upside down show of news stories to share with you guys. So it's great to be here, Sheila Gunn. Every time we get to hang out here is a great time. But today's show is special because it's on a Thursday. So welcome
Well,
to it, guys.
and CBC has been CBCing so hard that Fox News has noticed. So we'll get to that in a second. I'll tell everybody what we're doing around here. If you're watching us on Rumble, that's an excellent free speech platform. If you want to support our work while we give you your say, might I suggest you leave a Rumble rant? That's their paid chat over there. If it's over the $5 US cutoff, we're reading it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our very best, time permitting. But I should tell you, I'm out the door right after the show and off to catch a flight to the Student Journalism Conference in Toronto, put on by the Democracy Fund. So we can't go too long. If you are watching us on YouTube, same rules apply, but their paid chat is called a super chat. And if you miss a live version of the show, but the stuff we tell you about CBC so angers you that you would like to leave a comment in support of us, a paid comment, you can do that by way of a super thanks. And we invite you to do this because, unlike the CBC, we aren't crazy terror apologists and fiercely independent of the government. So those are the rules. Let's get into the show. CBC, man, CBC. As our friend Peter McCaffrey at the Alberta Institute points out, next month is the 25th anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks. I remember where I was. I was getting ready for my son's birthday, which also is September 11th. What's CBC up to? Well, their news senior director of journalistic standards, of all things, and public trust sent out an internal memo telling CBC staff that when they refer to the 9/11 terror attack, to not call it a terror attack, but to call it a hijacking. Just a bunch of amateur pilots having a bit of an angry day, I guess.
Yeah, and by repositioning what that day was, and it's one of those rare events that was so serious that we all remember where we were
Right.
when we found out that this was happening, right, guys? Like, tell us in the
I
comments.
completely do.
Where
Yeah.
were you? Where were you when you found out about the 9/11 terror attacks? But by repositioning it as some sort of hijacker enabled passenger jet crash, instead of what it actually was which was a foreign terror attack on American soil, the CBC continues to beclown itself because everybody remembers the world feeling like it just shifted that day, like something so terrible had just happened that it was going to change everything. And it did. It did. It was awful
Mhm.
watching that entire event unfold. And of course, it was meant to terrorize us. It was a terrorist attack.
Yeah. Now, and why would we change the language from a terrorist attack to hijacking?
Mhm.
And I think it's to obscure now, roughly a generation later, the motivations behind what was happening. And we see more of these attacks happening, these terror attacks happening. But we're told that we're not to call them Islamist terror attacks. You don't want to obscure the motivations here because that would um, it would stop us from delineating to where we are now. You
Mhm.
know, we have Islamists marching on the streets of Toronto and Montreal every single week. We have Islamist attacks being broken up by foreign police agencies because Canadian police are asleep at the switch. We don't want to show that that was a real turning point in the world when it comes to Islamism. So we're just going to call it kidnappings. And basically these hijackers kidnapped some planes full of people, and then
Right.
oopsie doodle, they went into the Twin Towers.
Right. And the Pentagon, let's not forget. And was it a cornfield
A
in
field in Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Pennsylvania? So oopsie. That just all, it can just be explained by hijackings. It was
Yes.
a coordinated foreign terrorist attack,
Yeah.
CBC.
Yeah.
And but this just goes to, it's another great example of the CBC actively, like, we have evidence here, they're actively trying to rewrite the narrative with new
Yep.
language. And we've
Yep.
seen them do this over and over and over. Safe supply. Remember when they called it safe supply?
Right.
Gender affirming care is another.
Mhm.
This is concerning. What direction is the CBC going in if they're being compelled to describe an accurate event inaccurately?
Yeah. Right. Reproductive rights is another one too, where they
Right?
sanitize what's actually
The
going on.
language. Yeah,
Yeah.
the language.
And it should concern us that in the middle of a trade war, the House Republicans have noticed this and said, "You want to care to explain?" And the federal government can try to distance themselves from this, but CBC is their mouthpiece, their fully funded mouthpiece, by
Mhm,
the way. So they say,
mhm.
what possible motive, I think we've determined that, could
Beautiful.
there be for sanitizing the worst terrorist attack on American soil? Care to explain, Canada?
Good job, House of Representatives, or excuse me, the House GOP, the
Yeah.
Republican representatives. Amazing question. Very good. Set a fire under their feet, Republicans.
And so Fox News
Mm.
has noticed, for example, Laura Ingraham has tweeted about it. Our good friends in Canada, very unhelpful. CBC, thank you very much in the middle of a trade war. And so I thought, let's dig down on who uh, sent this memo
I
to
love
the
this part.
staff.
I love this part where Sheila Gunn Reid just takes us on a little story time. Go
Let's
on.
go on a journey. So the CBC journalistic standards guy, that's Bassem Boshra, who sent this. And he used to be at the Montreal Gazette. He also was at CTV News. Now they've
Mm,
scrubbed his bio from their website once he went over to CBC. But
mm.
I should point out to you that the Montreal Gazette turfed him. Okay, so this is him. Senior Journalistic Standards and Public Trust. Remember that. Senior Journalistic Standards at CBC. Okay?
Okay.
He was at the Montreal Gazette, where he held key leadership roles, including deputy editor, managing editor, digital editor, city editor, and columnist. His career also includes positions as supervising producer of digital content over at CTV News Montreal, an associate editor of the Weekend Post at the National Post. Okay, so
Okay,
I thought,
guys. So, like you can see here, he is a super ultra turbo level professional mainstream media journalist. That's what I'm seeing.
right, deeply entrenched. So I
Mhm.
thought, somebody who says stuff like this doesn't come out of nowhere. This isn't just one of, right? It can't be, because
Right, right,
you don't walk out onto the um a mound and then hit a home run the very first time you play baseball, right? Like, you don't do that. So has he said stupid things in public before? What do you think?
oh,
um and this actually speaks to CBC, because CBC wrote an article on the stupid thing that he had done before and then hired him to be in charge of journalistic standards. So think about that. Think about how CBC is. If they wrote an article about the dumb thing this guy did previously, and then they're like, who's the man for the job? That guy.
he's willing to he's willing to go all the way. Okay, tell us what he said.
Okay, this
What is
from CBC Radio Canada
um,
from 2019.
okay.
Bassem Boshra, the news director of the Gazette for the past 2 years, had to delete his Twitter account after writing that Maxime Bernier's political party was a white party. He remains employed by the Post Media Network network newspaper, however. The micro message, good way to diminish it, is less than 20 words long, yet it caused quite a stir on the social network. This is what he posted. By the looks of it, things are definitely picking up for the White People's Party of Canada.
Oh My God.
Yeah.
So he thinks white people are bad, and he
Yes.
thinks that, yes, okay. And Maxime Bernier, I wonder what Maxime Bernier has
Yes.
to say about this. Maybe we'll ask him later. Oh, here we have a, when was this published, Sheila Gunn Reid?
2019.
2019. Okay. So then, yeah, it went back and forth to the People's Party of Canada.
Yeah. The
Huh?
Gazette's news director later apologized, but that did not stop the PPC leader from once again describing his opinion as false, intolerant, and offensive. Bernier called Boucher an idiot who insinuates that the PPC is a racist party because there were too many white people at a rally in Nova Scotia, where we are the only party that doesn't engage in identity politics, he wrote on Twitter. It was impossible, however, to consult the apology in question because Mr. Boucher's Twitter account was deleted within hours. I guess he didn't want everybody to see all the other crazy things that he had been saying. Bernier nevertheless, took the liberty of asking on Twitter whether the Gazette management also believed that racial quotas for people at political gatherings are necessary.
Great question. Great question.
Yeah, when contacted by Radio Canada, the person in question declined our interview request, instead directing us to Ms. Choden. She stated that Mr. Boucher was enjoying a planned day off on Monday and that she had only communicated with him by email. She added that Bassem Boucher himself had made the decision to delete his Twitter account, sure, sometime between Sunday night and Monday morning. I guess you only do this if you have a bunch of stuff on your Twitter account that is probably quite similar that now you don't want people to see because you've experienced backlash.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
Then CBC saw this and they're like, that's the man for the job. Get him over here.
You know, what's really interesting is CBC Radio Canada is different from CBC proper, and they run things really differently. Like if there is a good part of CBC, it is the Radio Canada part. So that it was reported as bad and on Radio Canada, and that then the other part of the sister company picked him up is not surprising. And it shows the dysfunction within the CBC, don't you think?
Yes. I just thought it was quite amazing. You know, like perhaps the background checks over the CBC could involve other CBC articles.
Maybe. that would not be. I mean, he probably just walked in there and charged them. Sheila Gunn Reid with all of his anti-white rhetoric. You know, that would be indescribably attractive to the CBC. Yeah.
Well, they have racial hiring quotas over at the CBC.
That's it.
So he probably checked a ton of identity boxes, his anti-white racism aside.
Yeah. Anyway, here we are this many years later, still talking about it. So
congrats. Good job, CBC.
Yeah. Well done.
This video from oh God, it's from CBC, but when I saw this, it's Jason Markusoff over at the CBC. And I don't have anything good or bad to say about Jason Markusoff. All I have to say is I was so excited because I was like, Egon Spengler from Ghostbusters is on CBC, but it wasn't. It's Jason Markusoff. Anyways, he says that Alberta separatists are cheering on Trump and bad times for Canada, making Canada weaker because they say it's good for Alberta separatism. No, that's not what we think, but I'll get to that in a second. Please enjoy Jason Markusoff.
Some of the more aggressive voices will, take on a bit of a more pro-Trump tone. They will cheer on Trump and what he's doing, saying that it's making Canada weaker. There's one YouTube video called The Unacceptable Fringe that I was watching, where one of the panelists says anything that's bad for Canada is a good day for the U.S. Sorry, anything that's bad for Canada is a good day for Alberta separatism. Some of the more
Yeah, I'm not cheering on pain for my fellow Canadians at all, and I think that I'm a prominent voice in Western independence, having my own third-party advertiser. I wish that there was a federal government that wasn't so willing to inflict pain on my fellow Canadians, and I wish that the rest of the country had taken the measured approach that two Western premiers have taken when dealing with the trade war, and the threats from the Carney government and his mouthpiece, Doug Ford, to leverage Western natural resources against the will of the people in the West and their elected officials. That is driving Western independence. But we don't need any more arguments for Western independence. We're not cheering on the pain of the rest of the country. I'm asking you why you're doing this.
Well, because you've got to question the motivation. Because if they stop doing it, then they stop getting all of our money. Sheila Gunn Reid. Okay. If we stop this, if Alberta and Saskatchewan put a stop to the profane abuses of the federal government, well, then they're going to have to start paying for all of their fancy programs and all of their fancy lobbyists and all of their fancy friends on their own. And that makes it really difficult. But you know, they give us reason every day to want to consider our other options. You know, if everything was going great in Canada right now, we wouldn't be having these conversations in the West. And you know, when I look at the deal that Doug Ford got, okay, when I look at the deal that Team Canada got, which was no deal, okay, they took their ball like petulant children and went home. You know, contrast that with where we could be if our Western premiers could just negotiate this directly with the American consumers. Imagine how much further we'd be in this process. But as it is right now, our hands are tied to the federal government, who is inept and who is incapable of getting along nice with our neighbors. As Western, I think, as Western separatists, and even for the Western separatist curious crowd, our relationship with our neighbors in America is important, and we want everybody to do well in North America. That's not a controversial take. So,
Olivia or Efron, can you find me that video where Doug Ford discovers line 5 and line 9 for the first time live on TV? It was yesterday.
He realizes that our oil actually travels through the United States, then goes back up into Ontario, north into Ontario, like where it's the best.
It happened yesterday live on TV. And as I said when I was talking the other day, someone really has to show him a Natural Resources Canada map of pipeline infrastructure. And then like show him where the border is and like show him like this is where the little choo-choo train goes. And this is where the oil goes.
Like a Thomas the Tank, you know what I mean? Like a little animated thing so it keeps Doug's attention.
Give him a little tanker and let him drive it through the pipeline and come out the other side. Because it happened to him live on TV yesterday.
Oh my God.
I think this is it. A reporter asked him, "Are you okay with cutting off power to the United States?" And it's the one, I'm not sure if it's this one, where he congratulates Danielle Smith on figuring out that we should have a pipeline that goes through the entirety of Canada to the east. And he's like, good thing she figured it out. And it's like, we've been talking about that for years. They canceled a pipeline called literally Energy East. And all of a sudden he's like, what? What's happening? You know, I'm not sure if this is it, but I'll see if I can find it.
Premier Ford, Alex Tabo with MS Now. In the past, you threatened yet stronger retaliation against the U.S., including curtailing the export of electricity from Ontario to the U.S. Would you still go that far?
I would. Everything's on the table, but I can't do it alone. You know, I'm not the only province that ships electricity down to the U.S. We need a Team Canada approach. And I'd be happy within the provinces to lead that approach. If this escalates and we can't get back to the table and he keeps coming after us, all options are on the table, in my opinion, but I can't do it alone. We have other provinces that send electricity down to the U.S. We all have to be on the same page.
Okay, that's not the one. I found it. Okay, this is Doug Ford. Okay, but go ahead, react.
Okay, Doug, we are rejecting your leadership application. Okay, you were the last person on planet Earth who Canada, or especially Saskatchewan and Alberta, need negotiating with the Americans. Doug, they don't like you down there because you've ran your mouth too many times. But let's go to the next clip because this is great.
Okay, let's go to the next clip, and then let's go to, after this, Daniel Smith explaining to the world why cutting off energy exports to the Americans would devastate the Canadian economy for generations. But this is Doug Ford figuring out that his oil and gas come from the United States, albeit from Alberta. And then he completely forgets that Energy East was a pipeline that was on the table. And then the Liberals changed the rules on them. Go.
Okay.
Smith on Monday. She's obviously still opposed to that idea. From your point of view, how did that conversation go? And is there anything you think you can do to get her on board with your approach?
Well, we had a great conversation. We get along quite well. We may disagree on certain items, but I'm going to be flying out there to pay her a visit. You know, this is why we need, the pipeline. We've needed this for 50 years, going from west over to east. And we're going to work on that. We're going to work collaboratively with Alberta and Premier Wab Kinew. We have to get his approval, and Scott Moe, and everyone has to work together. I'm confident that's going to happen. But Premier Smith came up with some great ideas. Right now, we're getting our fuel and our natural gas coming down to the U.S. and coming back up to Canada. Craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. And the natural gas coming from Pennsylvania coming up. Well, we already have an existing pipeline, so we're going to reroute that, and we won't have to be reliant on the U.S. Isn't that amazing that we have energy sovereignty once we build this pipeline? We won't have to rely on anyone in the entire world. And that's our plan, and we're going to go as quickly as possible. So we get along very well. Again, we may differ on a couple things, but we have a strong plan. And I got to give Premier Smith the credit. She was the one who came up with these ideas, that rerouting this natural gas line and eventually rerouting Line 5 as well.
How is it possible that he didn't know until just now, after Daniel Smith got off the phone with him 2 days ago, where he gets the energy in Ontario from? How is that possible? He just said, it's amazing. It's amazing. I didn't know.
I am just shocked that our oil and gas has to go through the United States because of Canadian regulatory burden to come back up into Ontario. What is this? Doug, my God, you remember Sheila Gunn Reid when Rob Ford started saying things, right? He started saying things and people were like, maybe something's off kilter there. Like I feel like we're there with Doug because you're right. How can the Premier of Ontario not know how this works? How can he not know?
Well,
big surprise.
And yes, Daniel Smith has been pushing a west to east pipeline, but someone should tell Doug Ford that there was a west to east pipeline on the table and billions of dollars had been spent to get it over the finish line. And then the Liberals changed the rules in the middle. And so TransCanada had to abandon the Energy East pipeline, which would have moved oil from Hardisty through all of Canada, into the United States. You can show the map there.
In October 2017. So that was roughly 2 years after Justin Trudeau, within the second year of Justin Trudeau becoming
started changing the rules. So one of the first things Justin Trudeau did was he got rid of the the NEB, so the Energy Review Board. And so that was a purely technical process. And, it was measured by how safe is it, environmental, real environmental concerns, not just, having the bad vibes of a pipeline is going to disturb the bees. It wasn't like that. Justin Trudeau removed that and replaced it with a process that considers social justice and how the local feminists ovaries feel about it. Gender-based analysis plus. Yes. And so it became an impossible hurdle because how are, as a pipeline company, concerned with your investors? How do you even meet those targets? Who cares what the local busybody feels about it and how many bees' feelings get hurt by the bad vibes of the pipeline? So they just completely abandon it. And the stigma around being a Canadian pipeline, a recognizable Canadian pipeline company, caused TC Energy, and I'm using the new name, TransCanada, change their name to TC Energy.
Uh-huh. Well, everybody's abandoning trans things. Okay. I'm delighted for TC Energy not to have to call them Trans Canada anymore. TC is a much better name, in my opinion, Sheila Gunn Reid. But it was forced because they were so vilified. They were so vilified. Meanwhile, you have these companies headquartered in provinces that are like, we could just employ everybody. Like, we could keep everybody busy for years and years and years. And you know what the government said? No.
Yeah.
No. Everybody into gender studies.
Yeah. Just to put a pin on this and we'll move past. Dennis McConaughey, a former TransCanada executive who worked on the project, suggested that contrary to the public announcement, the federal government's actions throughout the regulatory process showed that it was not supportive of growing the hydrocarbon industry. This is a direct quote from him. I think it's going to be daunting. And this is from 9 years ago. Doug Ford, you had a pipeline on the table 9 years ago. I think it's going to be daunting for any corporate board in Canada, given the experience of the last 10 to 15 years, to really take the risk, what I would call the political and regulatory risk, said McConaughey in a CBC interview when asked about reviving the project. And yet, oil and gas demand continues to rise. We just don't have the infrastructure. So somebody, now that Doug Ford understands where his oil and gas comes from, remind him about TC Energy and their withdrawal of this project, because they just couldn't meet the new busybody rules, the social justice and gender rules required to build a pipeline in this country. Imagine.
Well, these are the same people that Doug Ford is saying, come do business with us. The new Team Canada. The new Team Canada is the same as the old Team Canada.
Yeah.
There's no appetite in the West to join this crazy harebrained approach. And especially not with guys like Doug Ford and Jason Kenney. Like, we don't, and Rachel Notley, we don't want to do what those losers did. We don't want
job killers,
bad ideas. Exactly.
Job killers, all of them, between
public. I'd be happy to lead. Doug, no, go to your cottage.
Go.
Bye.
Now, further to Doug Ford's recent discovery about Line 5 and Line 9, Danielle Smith did her best to try to explain it one more time to the likes of Wab Kinew and Doug Ford, Olivia Chow, David Eby, about what will happen if the federal government does something extreme, like coming and turning off the taps, because they would have to do it. We would never do it. Or imposing an export tax on Canadian oil and gas. Just listen.
Although I understand the need to respond strongly to these tariffs, I cannot think of a more disastrous policy decision than cutting off or taxing Alberta's oil to the United States. Doing so would absolutely devastate the Canadian economy. It would not only extinguish the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of Albertans, it would economically hobble our friends and neighbors in other provinces to the east. Let me explain why. And it's important that this be understood by every Canadian.
Doug?
If Canada were to put, let's say, a 50% export tariff on the 4 million barrels of oil that we export daily to the United States, the United States would immediately respond with a 50 to 100% export tariff on oil and natural gas that they export to Ontario, along with millions of barrels of diesel fuel and gasoline that Ontario and Quebec import from the Midwest. This would bring the economies of Ontario and Quebec to a grinding halt. Meanwhile, all those refineries in the United States that currently use Alberta's heavy oil would start looking to Venezuela for replacement heavy oil and reverse the pipelines northward to get it to Midwest refineries. As a result, we would lose the United States as a customer entirely and likely forever. This would result in the loss of about 500,000 jobs at a minimum, mostly in Alberta, but also hundreds of thousands of jobs in Ontario and Quebec. And if we cut off our oil entirely, what then? The same results, but even worse. The United States would, of course, respond and cut off all gasoline and diesel from their refineries to Ontario and Quebec, right as we turn into fall and winter. And unlike Canada, the United States has strategic oil reserves that Canada does not. So although their gasoline prices will increase, they will be able to keep them at relatively manageable prices, just as they have done through the Iran war. And without strategic oil reserves, Canada has no way to supply Ontario and Quebec with the oil, natural gas, and fuels that they would need in a timely fashion. The Toronto Stock Exchange would nosedive, along with millions of Canadians' investments, particularly our seniors, and small and medium and large energy companies across Canada would shutter and lay off their employees, unable to find a market for their product. There is a better way forward.
So do you get it now, Doug Ford? She's actually trying to save your economy from you.
Correct. She seems to be one of the very, very few people who have a really good grasp about how we proceed through this and how to avoid, the chaotic world that we're living in. There's a rational way through this, and it's not by, like Doug Ford liked to do, telling the Americans to, kiss his derriere, we'll say. This is the way. Diplomacy is the way. Rational negotiation is the way. And I really like the way that she sort of makes it real clear that Alberta's oil and gas sector it is an immense instrument that all of North America can use. But they need to grow up over this little trade spat.
Yeah, I don't think the people in other parts of the country realize that a pipeline can just be reversed. And she laid that out. The pipelines that are going one way, the United States can easily reverse them to feed those refineries in the Midwest, i.e., the oil coming from Hardisty, heavy oil from Alberta, coming from Hardisty, Alberta at that tank farm that's going to refineries in the Midwest, and then to export south in the Gulf of America, that can be easily reversed, as in that instead of exporting in the Gulf of America, it will feed in from Venezuela. And then that's it. We're done. And there's no going back. And she talks about that, the spiral this will cause. It's not just one thing. It's not going to be oh, they lost some jobs in Alberta, we don't care.
Right.
It will just build and build and build. Yeah. She's right. Their economies will grind to a halt.
Yeah. And there is no industry large enough to replace oil and gas in Canada. No. We've spent the last 70 years developing one of the most amazing technologies that humanity's ever seen. Okay. It's changed everything, in especially in Western Canada, and it's also paid for the rest of the country. And well, we're just gonna pray for wisdom and a happy negotiation and a successful negotiation with our American counterparts.
Yes. Let's hit an ad break. We'll come back on the other side with somebody else who's keeping his head quite level, and that's Scott Moe. Now, he said some things I sort of disagreed with yesterday, but that's fine because he's standing up to Doug Ford and his madness about harming our economies to, I don't know, so that we all suffer the same. This feels like Canadian healthcare. Honestly, we're just all suffering together. Let's hit an ad break. We'll come back on the other side.
For generations, many Canadians have preserved more than just firearms. They've preserved history, tradition, competition, memories. But under Trudeau, and now Carney, heirlooms, estates, collectibles, and competition firearms now have to be surrendered and destroyed. While violent gun criminals get pass after pass, openly ignoring any legislation, lawful gun owners are trapped in an increasingly unfair legal system. But we can help. Canada's National Firearms Association's Save Firearms program offers the legal pathway to preserve what matters, while we work towards a political solution. Don't let yours be next. Save history. Save heritage. Save firearms. Visit nfa.ca today to learn more.
In Canada, firearms owners like me understand the importance of safe, effective self-defense options. That's why we're proud to have Byrna as a sponsor. Byrna's less lethal launchers are designed to help protect you and your family without taking a life. Byrna offers peace of mind, accessibility, and a practical layer of personal security for Canadians who value safety. Learn more at byrna.ca/rebel. That's byrna.ca/rebel.
Hey folks, do you love a good cup of coffee? Are you, like me, banned for life from visiting Tim Hortons? Well,
no, we're not. No, not everybody is.
Not everybody.
Just you and me.
But I am. Folks, I have great news. Check it out. This is Rebel News Special Edition Coffee. Rebel News and Resistance Coffee have partnered to bring you something special to wake up to. Resistance Coffee is a family-run Canadian coffee company, unlike Tim Hortons, by the way. And while the big chains wrap themselves in the flag and turn their backs on Canadian workers, Resistance Coffee has been doing the real thing all along, available only at rebelcoffee.ca. A 5-pound bag and bundles qualify for a $9.99 flat rate shipping nationwide. It is worth every penny. Folks, this is great coffee, and this is the coffee to brew. Rebel News.
Okay, we're back. We weren't there for a second, but we are now. We got a message from our friends at Rumble Wallet because we have to pay the bills around here. We hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money after the 2008 financial crisis. Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you're in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you've felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today, everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all that complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stablecoins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. And once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can just set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. All right. Let's get into a little more news. I'm going to jump around a little bit, Olivia. So just gird your loins. Gird thy loins. I'm going to be all over the place. First, I want to talk about Scott Moe. Scott Moe also explaining to Doug Ford why he's insane and irrational. So let's watch that.
Let me start with the potential suggestion of an export tax on potash. Saskatchewan, in the not-too-distant future, will be providing half of the world's potash. That would be a tremendous economic hit to our province and to our nation. First, Canadians would lose jobs. Second, farmers on both sides of the borders would pay more for that crucial fertilizer. Third, the United States of America most assuredly would switch to buying potash from other nations around the world, nations like Belarus, for example. We would lose a long-term customer to some degree. And indirectly, I think it's fair to say, there are much closer nations that will not deal with a country like Belarus when it comes to potash procurement. This would be a tremendously flawed policy on behalf of Canadians. We today in the potash industry are using virtually all North American ports to ensure that we can get that product to the world. This again is due to a flawed policy in Canada when it comes to our port governance, in particular the structure of the board at the Port of Vancouver, which is not representative of the 3 prairie provinces that export the bulk of the product out the Port of Vancouver. We are restricted due to those policy decisions that have been made that are utilizing port capacity in Canada to export other products from other areas of the world and to import other products from other areas of the world, thereby restricting our ability to export more products like potash out the Port of Vancouver. We have asked for that structure to change, the board structure at the port to change, to prioritize the Canadian economy, to prioritize the Prairie provincial economy so that we have true access to the world through an efficient port system and ultimately build that industry for years into the future. Similarly, we cannot in any way support the adding of export tariffs on a product like oil. Again, it would be an unsustainable hit to our Canadian economy and in particular our Saskatchewan and Alberta economy. Canadians would lose jobs immediately. We as a nation would lose investment immediately. And I would put forward that an export tariff on oil would have a far greater impact on those that are living in Eastern Canada than it would even on those that are directly working in the energy industry. 20 to 50% of Canadians' refined petroleum products, our diesel, our gasoline, is produced through products that are produced in Western Canada, travel through the United States of America back into Canada to be refined and utilized. An export tariff on that Canadian Western oil would most assuredly result in a much higher price on gasoline, largely in Eastern Canada. Again, this is only a function of a flawed policy discussion that we have had in this nation over the course of the last decade or better, where we see those all too often, those very same individuals that are promoting export tariffs on a product like oil 10 years ago were the very same individuals standing up and saying we should not build important energy security infrastructure like the Energy East pipeline. Flawed policy 10 years ago, flawed policy today. We should not make the same mistake twice.
Oh, Scott Moe is getting testy with the feds and the Eastern premiers. Okay, I'll just tell you one thing for free. Okay, the people of Saskatchewan love it when Scott Moe gets fighty. Okay,
Same.
We love it. And hearing him say this, like, guys, think this through. If you tariff potash, it's going to cost everybody more money to grow the food. This is not good. If you tariff oil out of Alberta and Saskatchewan, this is going to cost everybody more money. This is not good. I wish, like in a perfect world, it would just be Scott Moe and Danielle Smith negotiating this trade deal, because I think that we would get a good one.
Right. Because they're both calm, level-headed, and they understand supply chains, which is something that nobody else seems to right now.
That's right. And just confidential for Scott Moe, we need to reject all bad ideas that come out of the East, all of them,
all
not
the time.
Just pertaining to oil and gas, but as it pertains, well, anytime the federal government, every time we cash a check from the federal government, there are strings attached. And the people of Saskatchewan do not want the strings as long as they're attached to the federal government. So I like this energy and I want to see more of it.
As Sirius XM, the Patriot host, Andrew Wilkow says, every time the government comes to you with an open hand to give you something, the other hand is always a fist. And so best to just reject it all.
Decline the punches. Decline the punches. No, thanks. We don't want your bad ideas out here. We can do things better than you. And we're actually proving it.
Now, we talked yesterday about how the mask snitches are back, baby. And CBC is the worst amongst them. They've been running around each province hunting down grocery stores who don't comply with labeling where their food comes from. I honestly think the majority of people don't care. They're looking at the price sticker, not the Made in Canada label, because people are struggling to put food on their table. But let's hear it from CBC. They found some elbows up boomers.
There's no label anywhere. I want to know where my food comes.
Just bigger signs, or, I mean, could be like the LC, sort out the U.S. product.
If it's a Canadian brand, that's what I'm going for.
Inside the store, it's clear where some produce was grown. But for other bulk products like green onion, cabbage, and limes, that information is not displayed. There's no sticker on some produce or information on some price tags. As the Canadian economy is hit with U.S. tariffs, Smith and other customers say the store needs to do more to promote local.
So I don't think they're in step with public sentiment.
Canadians politically and nationally are looking to support ourselves, support our economy.
In a statement, Superstore owner Loblaw says they're taking steps to make the Canadian products easier to find. A T symbol will be added to items directly sourced from the U.S. that are affected by tariffs. and country of origin information will be back at the fresh produce aisle. A food industry expert says that's going to be challenging.
Having staff who will take the time and attention and have the knowledge to say, okay, this is a product of Canada and this isn't.
According to federal regulations, imported and prepackaged fresh produce needs to show its country of origin. There are no requirements for Canadian fruits or vegetables to be labeled as local. The chain hasn't said when the customers will notice more labels.
Do you really need a sticker to tell you that your limes and avocados are not Canadian? Do you really?
Your almond milk?
Right.
Where do you think they grow those almonds, buddies? Where do you think they grow those? Yeah, this is wild. This is just wild.
People are, and I say this according to internal government data reported on by Blacklock, so people are eating less meat and skipping meals because of food inflation. Do you think that people really, really actually care where their groceries come from? Or do you think
onions come from? Where their green onions come from?
Yeah. Give me a break. Give me a break.
These people, well, listen, the people that they interviewed have too much time and money on their hands. Okay.
Right.
If this is something that they can split hairs over and make their buying decisions on, I think for the vast majority of Canadians who have watched their paycheck shrink through because of no fault of their own, they didn't vote for this. This is insulting. It's actually insulting.
Yes.
To the many people who are in line for food banks.
Right.
How insulting. How absolutely insulting.
Sometimes I think people are just telling CBC what they want to hear. Like, I honestly believe that 50% of the people, even in an affluent neighborhood where they have the money to care about these sorts of things, don't actually care, but they know what CBC wants to hear, so they just say it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same way, like when they talk about climate change, and it's like nobody actually cares about it. No,
Right.
but see, the news keeps telling you you're supposed to care about it, so you tell the news you do.
Yeah.
I just want to touch briefly on the fact that Mark Carney is to address the European Parliament.
He's so could he do that like here? No, okay. Them first? All right.
Yeah. What did he spend? Like a week at home after his Tuscany vacation? And now he's like, oh, I've had enough of the peasants. I have to go back to my people in the European Parliament. So he's going to address them, but he's not going to address us. He's the guy who keeps telling us we're at war. We've been attacked. And he's like, but my friends with the castles, they're calling to me.
My friends with the castles.
Yeah. Stupid. Where should we go? I saw this posted on X this morning. It's from No Opinion. Do you want to grab that? I just realized what his name sounds like now.
No
Opinion. Says until 2015, Canada and the US were on the same growth track.
Okay.
Olivia, do you want to bring that up? Then Canada suddenly fell behind. And he says, what the F happened to Canada in 2015? Do you really not know? Do you really not know? Like, you can plot the Liberals getting elected on a graph. Look at how we're tracking with the United States almost identically. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, doop.
Just stagnant. Like, that's stagnant, you guys. That's stagnant over 10 years. That's arguably embarrassing.
And a much bigger dip during COVID too, as you can see there. Much deeper dip. And the Americans recovered right away. And we just bounced up to about normal levels. And that was it for us. What happened, you guys? What do you think happened in 2015?
I feel like a guy got voted into the prime minister's office for his hair, and then we immediately started seeing the impacts of that folly.
Yes, exactly. I like this next one. Pierre Poilievre decided to prioritize questions from local media while visiting Windsor instead of taking questions from Carney-funded CBC, the terror apologists over at CBC. This caused a CBC reporter, Pratyush Dayal, to have a complete Doug Ford-style meltdown, shouting at Pierre's staffers for not speaking to the CBC. Why would you talk to liars? Anyway, let's watch.
Why aren't you letting us ask questions? Why isn't CBC Windsor letting us ask questions, sir? You do this at every single presser. You do not let us ask questions. Why is CBC not being allowed to ask questions? We are local.
You're asking a question right now, aren't you?
No, but I was front in the line. I was about to ask a question. You did not let me ask. You need to answer. You do this at every
Mr.
presser.
Poilievre is having a call with the Prime Minister right now at 8:30.
Sir,
Thank you so
I
much
was
for coming.
front in the line. I was front in the line. You're not even letting us ask questions here.
Hey, Sam.
Sir,
You know, they're so entitled.
Like the privilege that was shown there.
Yeah.
Running. Why aren't you talking to the CBC? Why don't you talk to everybody? Knows why nobody wants to talk to the CBC. Everybody,
Right.
because you guys aren't trustworthy, because nobody trusts you, and because no viewers watch the CBC. This should actually be party policy right from the very top all the way down. I never want to see conservatives on the CBC. I never, ever want to see them making content for the CBC. Why would they do that?
Right. Right. Just like 5% of Canadians watch it on the regular. If you're doing a local announcement, talk to local media, talk to the independent media. The CBC has all the access on Parliament Hill. Why wouldn't you talk to somebody else when you're off the hill?
You want to get the truth out? You want to talk to the independent press. You want it because we're not being paid by the government to promote their narrative. The Conservatives had any interest, okay, in getting at the truth and getting the truth to Canadians, they'd be talking more to the independent press.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to change lanes to a very bad story. I wrote this up for Justice Watch today. And then we'll do a cringe because the cringe is kind of funny.
Okay.
This is unbelievable, the judge's remarks in this story. No jail for man guilty of degrading and humiliating assault on girlfriend, says BC judge. Of course, this version of the story comes from CP24, so you don't find out the judge's name until the third paragraph. A man who, pardon me, pleaded guilty to urinating on his girlfriend while she slept, while making a video of the degrading and humiliating assault, won't spend any time behind bars, a BC judge has decided. Martin Joseph Couture pleaded guilty to 1 count of assault against his former intimate partner and was handed a 12-month suspended sentence. The victim's name is subject to a publication ban granted after an application from the Crown. Judge Tina Marie Bradford's sentencing decision was also published online this week, and it described the 2025 assault. Mr. Couture urinated on her, saturating her clothing and body. When the complainant awoke, she discovered she was drenched in urine and observed cameras positioned around her. Upon questioning, Mr. Couture initially responded that the incident was, pardon me, piss play, and that she had asked for it. The complainant later viewed the recording, which confirmed she was asleep at the time. The court heard the couple had a tumultuous relationship, that the assault happened after they both drank alcohol and consumed prescription drugs, and after the victim had turned down a marriage proposal. He decided to humiliate her. The victim provided an impact statement in which she said she had experienced anger, sadness, shame, and a profound sense of betrayal. The Crown wanted 6 to 9 months in jail, which actually kind of seems low. And but the judge said incarceration was not warranted, in large part because rehabilitation had really been achieved already. He was required to attend counseling, don't do drugs and alcohol, and he got 40 hours of community service, and he had to apologize to the victim to the satisfaction of a probation officer.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting.
He's rehabilitated. He'll never do it again. That's what they say.
That he did it once is the issue, I believe, that he did it once as the issue. What was he recording it for? Where did those recordings go? Do we know? Like, is this woman going to fear for the rest of her life that this event is going to pop up on the internet? Like, these are real
This is
fears that women
revenge
have.
porn.
You were sure? She was asleep. No sleeping person can consent.
Yeah.
After using drugs and alcohol, she was, well, disgusting. I hope that guy never dates another person again. I hope everybody knows who he is, and I hope he never, ever, ever gets another girlfriend.
I don't think his cellmate friends would have been kind to him had he actually seen the inside of a jail cell for this, but he got 12 months suspended, so served in the community. He's not on any registry anywhere. I would deem this a sex offense, that's for sure. But he won't be on a registry, and so future girlfriends will never know. Yeah. Hideous. Lise, you're speechless.
Yep. I don't date him, girls. Don't date him. The end.
Yep. Okay. Let's do a couple of chats, then the cringe, then I got to get on a flight. Actually, we've got we'll do one video.
Sure.
From President Trump. This is the president's rapid response team. And he's explaining how the Canadian officials have treated the Americans badly.
The Canadian officials have treated us very badly. They're nasty people. They charge our farmers 400% tariffs. They've been doing it for a long time. And I had them figured out in my first term, and I did some pretty strong things and had it getting pretty good. And then the election was rigged, and now I'm coming back and doing it the way and finishing the job. But they treat us very badly. Canada treats us very badly. I would say that of all countries, as you know, we have President Xi coming in a couple of weeks. We deal with a lot of people. People oftentimes, they'll ask me, who's the worst to deal with on trade? And I said, that's easy, Canada. They are the worst to trade. And they feel entitled, and just we can't have that. The Canadian officials.
Well, okay, President Trump, I hate to be the one to break it to you, but the Canadian government treats Canadian people exponentially worse than they treat Americans. And so take how they treat you on trade, times it by about a factor of 1,000, and then you'll have a good idea of how the Canadian government treats the Canadian public. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
It's almost like if we want these trade talks to restart, we should shuffle out the failures and put some new people in. How about get rid of all the anti-Trump crazy people that have soured this relationship and start anew? Well, that would be like a sign of goodwill.
Yeah. Well, but it's obvious that Ottawa doesn't have the self-awareness to correct their own mistakes. As a matter of fact, when they're identified, they double down and do more of the failing things just to try and make themselves feel like they're important. And of course you're right. There needs to be a humongous house cleaning in Canadian politics. We need some new blood in there, people that will do good things and act in the best interest of Canadians. Because Lord knows, for 10 years, we have not had a government that's looking out for us. And that's really at the very heart of it, their only job. They failed.
Right. I'm going to hit a couple of chats, and then I'm going to show you a cringe that's going to make you insane. So J Toma 8318, glad to see y'all address the government of Canada has become an enemy of the United States. Also, if Ford is that stupid, maybe we should just take the power plants. Look, don't retaliate. Well, just let Doug Ford have this moment where the light bulb goes off. Just let him have it for a minute, because usually that bulb is completely blown out above his head. And he just after everyone telling him for months, Doug, you're going to screw yourself if you do this. He just literally figured out, maybe I might screw myself.
Oh, maybe I did screw myself, but put me in charge of fixing it. I know I'm the guy that broke it, but I want to also lead us out of this. Like, it makes no sense.
Yes.
But I'm delighted the Americans are taking note. I'm absolutely delighted.
J Toma 8318 gives us $5 and says Ford needs to be shown the animation of the pipeline. Like Clark Griswold used to show his son Rusty how the family road trip to Wally World would go. Yeah. Definitely.
Oh, jeez, Louise.
You
This is
need
so
to
funny.
like put on, like on a, those placemats they give your kids in restaurants.
The
So they can
restaurants with the
color on.
crayons?
Yeah, so he can just trace it with a crayon.
Start here, Doug.
Yeah.
Here's where you start. Now connect the dots all the way across the country.
Find Pennsylvania. Circle Pennsylvania. Where's Michigan, Big Doug?
Oh.
Should. JP Albertan first gives us $5. As outrageous as the assault is, we have way more problems going on with the justice system. I highlight that assault because it's disgusting. It's a violation of that woman that will stay with her forever. It is indeed a sex crime. It is indeed revenge porn. That's a sexual assault, if you ask me. And that guy, the judge just said he's rehabilitated, though. He did 40 hours of community service. He's never going to do it again. What's the deterrent there? And that is happening all over the place with all kinds of bad guys.
Well,
And the judge should be named.
Can we just talk about the Sandra Schmirler Leisure Center and what's
please.
happening there? So we learned yesterday, this is referring to our No Balls in Women's Stalls series. That's happening in Saskatchewan right now. We were able to identify a problematic biological male who was invading the female-only spaces at the Sandra Schmirler Leisure Center. And we learned just yesterday that there has been an arrest. Okay, this is 3 weeks after our friend Bev initially rang the bell at the Sandra Schmirler Leisure Center with City of Regina staff. 3 weeks later, we learned the Regina police made an arrest. They questioned the guy and he was released. He was released. I don't know any more of that. I'm going to be reaching out to the Regina Police Service for an update on this story. It's the opinion of the women that this man is a risk to women and children, and we're going to keep a real keen eye about what happens next, because as I understand it, the Saskatchewan Crown Prosecutor now has this file from the police. Okay, the police have submitted their report to the Crown Prosecutor's office, and we're going to keep a real keen eye over what happens next, because just like this other story, and I know it's easy to say. I know it's easy to say. We have bigger fish to fry in this world. It's not really important, these stories. It is for women. It absolutely is for women. And so we just thank you for following along with us on this on these stories, and just helping us acknowledge that these are problems that also need to be fixed, because while the governments plural, all of them, are fixated on the big weighty issues of the world, things that happen to regular people still matter, and those stories are valuable to us at Rebel News, and we just thank you for choosing us to help tell them. So thanks, guys.
Okay, let's do the cringe, and then I just want to show everybody a photo, because our friend Tara, she's having a rough time because Dolly died, and she loves Dolly. I want to show you this. Her daughter, I don't know if you can see this. She painted me this photo of Dolly, gave it to me, and it stays in my office. Sometimes I move it around, but that
baby
little
G, she
talented.
is so talented. Yeah, she does. She arrives just with art on board.
Yeah,
every time we see her.
So Tara was feeling a little bit glum, but she's in the United States right now in the land of the free. And so to make herself feel better, she went down to the beach, waved around an Alberta flag.
You guys, this is our beloved third. This is our Tara. And she loves Alberta, and we love her. And this is her just living her best life. She exported Alberta to the coast. Okay.
Yeah. Pacific coast of the United States. Alberta represented. Thank you, Tara.
Yes, and she is looking for a compound for us.
Yes.
Okay, I said you go on a compound finding machine, but I'm already on it. Okay, so that's us. That's our girl Tara, and we just adore her, and we know that she is gonna love seeing that Alberta flag on us today.
She is. Okay, let's hit the cringe, because then I gotta get out of here. I gotta get to the airport. The cringe. Best Buy manager. Okay, the manager at the Best Buy.
Okay.
Is doing the role of the, I want to see the manager, Karen. It's very strange. Refuses to sell a customer a laptop after he misgendered a trans employee. Let's watch.
I'm just came here for a laptop, not for a bunch of nonsense and silly business. I mean, I'm not going to deal with this at all. So I just want to speak to the different manager, because you're not going to sell me a laptop because I'm not going to call. I just said, I said, thank you, sir, because he was going to get me a laptop that I was going to purchase, right?
Yeah.
And then he turned around and said, I'm not going to sell you a laptop unless you call me a ma'am.
Got it.
And then you said that I wasn't able to even buy the laptop if I'm not going to be respectful. I just said, thank you, sir. That's a ma'am. Yep. And I said, thank you, sir, for getting me a laptop.
If you're willing to just... Hey,
no, I'm not willing to. Hey,
fine.
I'm not going to say it's a mistake. Listen, I'm not going to play those games with you today. Okay. I'm here to purchase a laptop.
If you can't just commit a mistake...
It's not a mistake. I didn't make a mistake. That's it. You're going to grab me a laptop, man. Now, either if you're going to help me, then fine. Otherwise, just get me a different store employee even that is willing to just get the laptop for me so I can buy it.
Wild.
Please. I didn't make a mistake, sir. I'm not doing this today, realistically.
Good for him.
Gotcha.
Do you feel good recording this too?
Yeah, I am going to record it because I want to have it on video. I just feel like it. She has pronouns. It's a man.
It's a man. It's a man. More people need to do this. But like, imagine the entitled Best Buy employee being like, I'm not serving you unless you will say the things that I need to hear. Like, this is craziness.
Right. And like, I appreciate how calm the guy was, because if someone had to try to compel speech out of me, I would be a bit of a mongoose. I would not agree to the blackmail of use my words and then I'll sell you this thing. Look, are you in the business of business, or are you in the business of social justice? Now, I then would not have bought a single thing from Best Buy ever again, and I would advise everybody around me to do the same. But this guy obviously just wanted his laptop. He didn't want to fight. He didn't want his speech compelled. Sure. He just wanted to give the man his laptop.
That's right. And he would have, and the crazy thing is, I bet he would have given Best Buy hundreds to thousands of dollars for that laptop. He wasn't asking for it for free.
For sure.
He's paying for the privilege of buying the laptop, and then he's paying for the privilege of having his speech compelled by a precious employee who's been lied to, by everybody else in his life. Not the public's problem. Like, nobody was misgendered. Everybody was accurately gendered. And we're just going to keep doing this, guys. Yes. We're just going to keep doing this. We're not playing along. We're just not. We're done. We're over it. It's dead. Yeah.
And I think that whole exchange would have been a lot different as far as the public's vibe if the guy behind the camera had gotten belligerent. But he was just cool as a cucumber, like, I'm not doing this. I'm not offering an apology. I'm not using any pronouns. Please sell me a laptop. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, well, it makes it a lot harder for the person who is demanding that they be called something they're not to react with any kind of force, because you're being so rational.
Yeah.
You're just telling them the truth. It wouldn't be the first time that this person would have been accurately gendered. Okay. Right. This is not a catastrophic event, no matter how they try and spin it. But the entitlement there, like that, you know what that is? That's trans privilege. That's what trans supremacy even is, what that is. And I just really pray that the public reacts in a similar way, with calm, but with sincerity. I'm not doing what you're asking me to do. I'm just not going along with it. So.
All right. I think that's the show. I think I got to all the chats. Let's wrap it up. I got to get to the airport. Lise, thanks for subbing in on a Thursday. I guess I'll see you Tuesday.
Yeah, you're most welcome. I'll see you next Tuesday. Have the best weekend, everybody.
I will.
And Sheila, Gunn, Reid, don't catch any bad ideas when you're out there in Toronto, okay?
I'm going to spread ideas. I'm not going to catch them.
Right, you're on an Alberta idea export mission.
Yeah.
She was on a trade mission. Okay, from Alberta.
Infect people with good ideas.
I love this for them. I love this for them. Much needed in Ontario.
Yeah, for sure. Olivia Nephron, thanks for working so hard behind the board and everybody who works at Rebel News to make sure the show is there for you when you want it. I think we have the panel tomorrow. I think it's David, Drea, and I don't know who else. Thanks to those of you who engage with our content, those of you who pitch in to help us out here at Rebel News. It preserves our independence from the snakes in the state. And as we frequently say on the show here, if you find us offensive, maybe don't find us at all.
TACCOM 2026 is back. Bigger, better, and more exciting than ever. Experience Canada's largest indoor gun show, featuring the latest firearms, ammunition, tactical gear, accessories, and leading exhibitors from across the industry. Meet Amanda Lynn from the hit TV series That Hunting Girl. Take advantage of cash and carry firearms and ammunition deals available at the show. Join us September 12th and 13th. Open to the public. Tickets are available online or at the door.